You can see the screen, yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you all for joining us for today's Bhagavatam class. Please allow me to speak with your blessings and for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada and Shishinatai Sacainanda and Devi. Om Agyanti Varandasya Jananjana Shlakaya Chakshuramitamyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Swayam Rupam Kadamaya Dati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapati Gopisha Gopikanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranami Hari Priye Shri Vancha Kalpa Turubhyascha Kripo Sindhavi Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavya Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadar Shri Vasani Gaur Bhaktinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vasnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Shri Shunyavadi Pashtapaya Deshatarane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritam Naram Cha Eva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tado Jayadadire Shrinuta Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hirdavantastva Bhadrani Vidnuti Sutsatam Nashta Prayashu Apardeshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nashtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So, I will screen share. Let me know if at any time it's not visible. So we're reading the chapter on Lord Krishna's entrance into Dwarka, and in particular, the mood of the Dwarkavasis, a different dham, and Hastinapur, and Dham, Mathura. So just we're going to read verse 8. I'll just read the previous verses so I can keep my train of thought. One, Sri Sutta Goswami said, upon reaching the border of his most prosperous metropolis, known as the country of Anartha, Dwarka, the Lord sounded his auspicious conch shell, heralding his arrival and apparently pacifying the dejection of the inhabitants. The white and fat, bold conch shell being gripped by the hand of Lord Krishna and sounded by him appeared to be reddened by the touch of his transcendental lips. It seemed that a white swan was playing in the stem of lotus flowers. Number 3, the citizens of Dwarka, having heard that sound which threatens fear personified in the material world, began to run towards him fast, just to have a long-desired audience with the Lord, who is the protector for all the devotees. 4 to 5, the citizens arrived before the Lord with their respective presentations, offering them to the fully satisfied and self-sufficient one, who by his own potency incessantly supplies others. These presentations were like the offering of a lamp to the sun, yet the citizens began to speak in ecstatic language to receive the Lord, just as the wards welcomed their guardian and father. Number 6, the citizens said, O Lord, you are worshipped by all demigods like Brahma, the 4 sanas, and even the King of Heaven. You are the ultimate rest for those who are really aspiring to achieve the highest benefit of life. You are the supreme transcendental Lord, and inevitable time cannot exert its influence upon you. Number 7, O Creator of the universe, you are our mother, well-wisher, father, spiritual master, worshipful deity. By following in your footsteps, we have become successful in every respect. We pray, therefore, that you continue to bless us with your mercy. And now we're going to read number 8. Welcome, Mansi Ganga Mataji and Anita Mataji. Today was Leela's Mataji's turn, but she desired to swap with me, so that's why you're hearing somebody different. So we're going to read Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, Verse 8. Aho sanata bhavata smayad vayam darvishtapanam apidura darshanam prema smikta snikta nirkshan ananam pashyemi rupam tava sargas abhugam. Aho sanata bhavata smayad abhayam darvishtapanam apidura darshanam prema smita snigdha nirkshan ananam pashyami rupam tva sarva savagam. Aho sanatana bhavata smatyat vayam traivishtapanam apidura darshanam prema smita snigdha nirkshananam pashyema rupam tva sarva savagam. Would anybody like to chant? Yes.
O Sanatha Bhavatasmadadvayam Traivishtapanam Apidura Darshanam Premasmita Snigdha Nirikshananam Pashyema Rupam Tava Sarva Saubhagam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Anybody else?
I can read, Prabhu.
Please go ahead.
Aho sanata bhavata smayad vayam traivishtapanam apidhura darshanam premasmita snigdha nirikshananam pashyema rupam tava sarva saubhagam.
Thank you, Vinaya Prabhu. Anybody else?
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please
Go ahead, Maharaj.
Thank you, Prabhu. Aho sanata bhavatasma yo vayam traivashtapanam api dura darshanam prema smita snigdha nirikshananam pashyema rupam tava sarva saubhagam.
Thank you, Nita Mataji. Okay, I will start. Aho, oh, it is our good luck. Sa nataha, to be under the protection of the Master. Bhavata, by your good self. Sma, as we have become. Yat, vayam, as we are. The Vishtapanam of the demigods. Api, also. Dura darshanam, very rarely seen. Prema smita, smiling with love. Snigdha, affectionate. Nirkshana ananam, face looking in that mode. Pashyemi, let us look. Rupam, beauty. Tava, your. Sarva, all. Shabhagam, auspiciousness. Translation by His Doing Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Oh, it is our good luck that we have come today under your protection by your presence. For your lordship rarely visits even the denizens of heaven. Now it is possible for us to look into your smiling face, which is full of affectionate glance. We can now see your transcendental form, full of all auspiciousness. O Lord, so we can read this again. Let's read it together. Oh, it is our good luck that we have come again today under your protection by your presence. Please repeat. Okay, I guess nobody wants to repeat. Oh, it is our good luck that we have come again under your protection by your presence. For your lordship rarely visits even the denizens of heaven. Now it is possible for us to look into your smiling face, which is full of affectionate glances, we can now see your transcendental form, full of all auspiciousness. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Lord in His eternal personal form can be seen only by the pure devotees. The Lord is never impersonal, but He is the supreme absolute personality of Godhead, possible to be visited by devotional service face to face, which is impossible to be done even by the denizens of higher planets. When Brahmaji and other demigods want to consult Lord Vishnu, the plenary portion of Lord Krishna, they have to wait on the shore of the ocean of milk, where Lord Vishnu is lying on white land, Swetadeep. This ocean of milk and the Swetadeep planet are the replica of Vaikuntha Loka within the universe. Neither Brahmaji nor the demigods like Indra can enter into the island of Swetadeep, but they can stand on the shore of the ocean of milk and transmit their message to Lord Vishnu, known as Shirodaksha Vishnu. Therefore, the Lord is rarely seen by them, but the inhabitants of Dwarka, because of their being pure devotees without any tinge of the material contamination of fruitive activities and empiric philosophical speculation, can see Him face to face by the grace of the Lord. This is the original state of the living entities and can be attained by reviving our natural and constitutional state of life, which is discovered by devotional service only. Aho sanata bhavata smaryad vayam tavishtapananam api dura darshanam prema smita snikta nikshanam ananam pashemi rupam tva sarva shabhagam. Oh, it is our good luck that we have come again today under your protection by your presence, for your lordship rarely visits even the denizens of heaven. Now it is possible for us to look into your smiling face. It is full of affectionate glances. We can now see your transcendental form, full of all auspiciousness. Namo Vishwadaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanavane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Shri Shunyavadi Pashtataya Veshatanane. So Lord Krishna has come back to visit his relatives, friends, well-wishers in Dwarka. And if you read the remainder of the chapter, you'll see how he greets everyone from the highest to the lowest position in society with great affection and love. So the Dwarkavasis are very blessed that Lord Krishna, is coming back and giving them life again. So I want to focus on several sections, this concept of protection, how rare it is to see the form of the Lord. Here it says Dura Darshanam, and about the Lord's smiling face. So I will explore those three aspects. So the first one is, oh, it is our good luck that we have come again today under your protection by your presence. So in the material world, to be dependent on the mercy of someone else is considered a sign of great misfortune, right? Like it's commonly said, oh, you don't want to be dependent on anybody. But in case of a transcendental relationship with Bhagavan, Lord, is our most fortunate case that we can live completely dependent on Him. So why do you think that in the material current, material world, it's considered a sign of misfortune to be dependent on somebody? Anybody have any ideas for why that might be the case? Haribol?
It can cause attachments.
I can't hear you, Mataji, because of attachments?
No, it can be a cause for unnecessary attachments.
Okay. Any other ideas?
Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Can we say a banyan tree, Prabhuji, is a reflection of the material world, is a reflection of the spiritual world? So it's kind of direct opposite to what we experience there in the spiritual world and material world. Though it is a material world is a real, however, since Krishna is not there.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing from you is as above, so below, meaning the reflection, material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. That is true. And it is real, but temporary, and that's true. So, the idea of why is it a misfortune to be dependent upon others is because we cannot be confident that that person really desires our benefit, right? There's something called ulterior motive. They may have some other reason, or that they're truly capable of helping us. So there's that doubt, people have in the material world. So, but in the spiritual world, there's no doubt that there's somebody that's really loving and desires our well-wisher because he's our eternal Father, and that because he's controller of the entire universe, including all the energies that manifest in the universe, that he truly cares and wants to help us. So in material world, there's always this sense of distrust. To explore this concept of protection, I always think of the Pandavas. They're highly qualified, both by their personal character and by physical activities. Still, they always look for the mercy of the Lord because they know that every living being is dependent, like Srila Prabhupada says in the verse, by constitutional position. So, the question is, what does it mean to look for the mercy of the Lord? Like the Dwarkavasis are doing, is that it's a mood of genuine humility, namely to make great effort but still feel needy for the protection and the presence of Bhagavan. So the perfection of our life is to become dependent on the will of Bhagavan, instead of becoming falsely independent in this material world. Srila Prabhupada talks about it here as the constitutional state of life. That's what that means. Here the key word is sanata. Sanata. Those who try to become falsely independent of the Lord are called anata, meaning without any guardian. Whereas those who are completely dependent on the will of Lord are called sanata, or those who have someone to protect them. Over here, it's to be under the protection of the master. So the opposite of sanata is anata, one who has no protector. No protector. Usually in common language, nata is used to refer to orphans, those who don't have parents or guardians to take care. And actually, as long as we don't take shelter of Guru, Krishna, we're all anathas. That's why in the previous verse, if you see this verse here, the Dwarkavasis say to Krishna, you are our mother, our well-wisher, Lord, Father, spiritual master, and worshipful deity. So they're acknowledging that they're sanata, that they have a guardian, somebody who can, take care of them. So, by Krishna's grace, as it talks about in Canto 2, Chapter 1, by Krishna's grace, we may be blessed with family, parents, children, friends, relatives in this lifetime. But the reality is that this is all temporary. In Bhagavatam, it talks about how the jivas are like pieces of wood floating in the ocean. And those pieces of wood come together due to the force of time. And then we identify with, our wife, our husband, our children, etc. And then the forces of time pull us apart. And so what seemed like, an eternal condition winds up being temporary. Oftentimes Srila Prabhupada refers to that as, our fallible soldiers, our family, our friends, our society, all fallible soldiers. Our real protector eternally is Sri Bhagavan Krishna. So an important lesson in this prayer is that, because these are all prayers by the Dwarkavasis, for us to remember Krishna. So the idea is we must be sanata, so that we can always be protected under unfavorable condition of, material existence. Krishna, we know, always sees to the comfort of his devotees. Right? We see that in our own lives. Who are we? We're tiny, insignificant beings wandering through this gigantic universe. When we approach spiritual master, the foremost quality is humility, that I don't know anything, I'm insignificant. Please kindly take me as a speck of dust at your lotus feet. Unless if we truly believe that, the teachings of the Guru will not penetrate our heart. So Krishna always sees to the comfort of his devotees, and the devotees are always busy seeing that Krishna is satisfied. In the Sandarbha, the Priti Sandarbha, it says the happiness of Krishna is greater than the happiness of the Jiva. And the devotee works with that, essential principle in his mind, his or her mind. And this is the intimate relationship between a devotee and Krishna. Every living being has relationship with Krishna. But what Srila Prabhupada mentions, when one becomes a devotee, the relationship becomes intimate. So Kunti Devi, that wonderful chapter 8, says to Krishna, let me scroll back to that one, maybe. Let me find that verse. Trying to find it here. I don't remember the exact verse number. But she says that, as I can best recollect, that how can you leave us? We're intimate friends. We're simply living by your care, by your mercy. Don't think that we are safe and that you can therefore leave us. Our life is always under your mercy. We have no shelter other than the Lord's feet. Kindly don't leave us. So she's demonstrating this mood that the Dwarkavasis are also demonstrating in this chapter, specifically in these beginning verses, that we're sanata, we're dependent on you. You are our guardian. Don't leave us. It's certainly true. Krishna protects his devotees in every respect. He says this in 9.22, Ananyas Chintayantamam, Ye Janaha Paripashate, Tesham Nitya Kirtanam, Yogashinam Bahayam. Those who worship Krishna, Ananya Bhakti, exclusive undeviated devotion, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So ultimately, what is Krishna protecting? Anybody know? When he says that I preserve, I protect what they have, what is Krishna protecting? Do devotees live eternally in their body? Yes? No?
No.
No. So what is Krishna protecting? Krishna is protecting our relationship
Souls.
with him. Our relationship with him. Which, like Anita Mataji just said, which is the only property of the spirit soul, is our relationship with Bhagwan. Krishna, of course, is not careless. He takes care of what is what is favorable for nurturing that connection, the relationship with him. Krishna provides and preserves that also. Krishna may protect the physical body of the devotee, their health, their family members, because after all, those are also instruments which devotees use to serve Krishna. You know, but ultimately, Krishna is protecting our Krishna consciousness. He protects our level of advancement, our love for him, and he gives us a chance to advance more. And he orchestrates our lives in such a way that we can become more and more dependent upon him and attached to him. If we read, Braj Leela, Dwarka Leela, Mathura Leela, you will see that the entire pastimes are based on two words: dependence and absorption. Dependence, as if we cannot survive without Krishna, and absorption, and how can we serve? How can we please Krishna? Dependence and absorption. That's the entire relationship of a devotee. So a mature devotee learns to see how every situation is actually Krishna's loving protection for them. For example, the Lord protected Gajendra from tremendous physical distress of a crocodile biting his leg and the crocodile dragging him into his residence, which is the water, and Gajendra, the elephant, getting weaker. He blessed Sudama Brahman with unbelievable opulence. But in the case of Parikshit Maharaj, the Lord arranged for Parikshit Maharaj to die in 7 days, even though he was young king who was taking care of the entire kingdom. In either case, Krishna was protecting his devotee, albeit in a different manner. And in each case, Gajendra, Sudama, Parikshit Maharaj were most grateful. We know material activities will end with body. We should not ideally think of existence as just being, birth and death, because there's something eternal. But working Krishna will carry a person again in Krishna consciousness, even after loss of body. And this is what Krishna is ultimately protecting, the Krishna consciousness of a person. And that's why he says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, that any advancement made in the path of bhakti is never lost. In this endeavor, there's no loss or diminution. Even a little advancement in this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. What is the most dangerous type of fear? That I forget Krishna. So Krishna is Sanata. He knows exactly what is, for our ultimate good. And he provides just that. Enough. Provides enough for that. But he's not, callous or heartless. He's not a stone. He's a living being, not just a concept. He cares about the protection of his devotees. And we can see this if we go into, I'll give you an example of this. We had read a lot about Dhruva Maharaj, or heard a lot recently. I think you were all there. And here's something, a very beautiful thing. So Dhruva Maharaj says in this verse, "My Lord, O Supreme Lord, you are the supreme personified form of all benediction. Therefore, one who abides in your devotional service with no other desire, worshipping your lotus feet, is better than becoming king and lording it over a kingdom. That is the benediction of worshipping your lotus feet. To ignorant devotees like myself, you are a causelessly merciful maintainer, just like a cow who takes care of the newly born calf by supplying milk and giving it protection from an attack." We don't have like the material, we have material ambitions, but nothing like Dhruva Maharaj to be greater than even Brahmaji. Our material, ambitions extend to like a kind of a seemingly insignificant sense gratification, but we can relate as practicing devotees to Dhruva's transformation. We've spent many lifetimes considering ourselves the center of enjoyment, and now we've turned to Krishna with the hope of freeing ourselves from material desire and coming to pure love of God, prema. Dhruva Maharaj has realized that serving Lord Krishna's lotus feet is more relishable than enjoying an opulent kingdom greater than Brahmaji. So he prays to Lord as protector of one on the path of devotion, similar to a cow protecting her calf. If there's a thunderstorm, the cow forgets about itself and takes care of his calf. So what is Lord Krishna, what is Dhruva Maharaj's request from Krishna? What should Krishna or Vishnu here protect him from? What should we be praying to Krishna for protecting? We should protect for Krishna to help us with our own defective nature. Nothing external can harm us eternally. It's only our own self. So our prayer is to keep us Krishna conscious and to protect us from those things within us that back us up. So Srila Prabhupada has a very wonderful purport here. He says, Dhruva Maharaj was cognizant. What does cognizant mean? He was aware. He was cognizant of the defective nature of his own devotional service. Srila Prabhupada is saying that. So even those that are fortunate enough to come to Krishna consciousness through ISKCON and hear about the glories of Bhakti Devi, we will not automatically be free of errors because we're faulty beings. Imperfect senses, tendency to come under illusion, propensity to cheat, etc. And it takes time before we learn to offer our service in a pure way. Like Dhruva Maharaj is understanding that within his own heart. And so here Dhruva Maharaj is describing Krishna as being very active in our coming to the position of purity. So ultimately, what makes us so helpless, so dependent on Krishna, is not necessarily just our smallness in the material realm, but it's actually the misleading desires in our defective heart. Just like a mother knows, Nita Mataji is going to become a mother. Just like a mother knows that her child is at risk not only from outside influence, but from the child's own nature, right? I mean, Narottam Das Prabhu is seeing that his son, is now, expanding his personal nature. And as a parent, you always have to be lookout that, okay, are they safe? Or are they going to get into trouble? So we need for Krishna to protect us from our defective nature, right? Not just from the external forces of matter, but from our own, shortcomings. A devotee by nature is introspective. They know that this desire for fame, prestige, glorification is just worthless trash. How does it help me in my relationship with Krishna? How can that help me at all to come to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna? None. So, despite Krishna's concern for us, he will not interfere with our free will. So to reveal his mercy, we must come to some amount of sincerity and favorable inclination towards him. And Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Gopakumar finally returns back to the spiritual world. And he sees a dust cloud in the distance. And then he starts seeing there's Krishna, Balramji, and the cowherd boys, the cows all, walking, running back home. And he finally meets Krishna and they embrace himself. And he says, my dear Krishna, where were you in all my wandering throughout the material and heavenly universes? And Krishna said, I was always with you. Just needed for you to turn towards me. So why didn't Krishna just simply rescue his dear devotee Gopakumar from the material world? Because everyone has free will, and Krishna will not take that from us. He's a kind parent. He gives his child space to grow as they will. Yet he remains loving towards them and us, and prepared to help if we can turn towards him. Right? In Bhagavad Gita, he says that Chatur Shloka, that he provides intelligence. Buddhi Yogam Tam Vidami. He also says he provides what we lack and carries what we have, and that he's a swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So the idea is, to the degree one depends on Krishna to protect us from our own nature, to that degree Krishna protects us. So the real protection is being conscious of our relationship with Krishna and being conscious of those things that pull us away from Krishna. Krishna's in our heart. He knows what we're thinking at every second. He knows our conditioning. He knows our karma. He knows. So we should remember what true protection is. Okay. So then I wanted to cover this concept of your Lordship rarely visits denizens of heaven. This is this Dura Darshanam, very rarely seen, right? So Dwarka Vasis are making it very clear that to have darshan of the Lord is very rare, even for the denizens of heaven, right? Denizens of heaven, Srila Prabhupada is referring to the Devi Devtas. And if we find the same word here in chapter 11, the Vrat Rupa, the universal form, if we go, to the end here, Sudura Darshan, very difficult to see. The Supreme Person of Godhead said, my dear Arjun, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking opportunity to this form, which is so dear. Srila Prabhupada says something very, very wonderful. Let me find it here. It's a long purport. But the transcendental process is described in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, to hear about Krishna from authorities. That is the actual Vedic process. And those who are actually in Vedic line hear about Krishna from authority, and by repeatedly hearing about him, Krishna becomes dear. Repeatedly hearing about him, when I was reading this purport, I was attracted to this statement. Repeatedly hearing about him, Krishna becomes dear. As we have discussed several times, Krishna is covered by yoga maya potency. He's not to be seen or revealed to anyone and everyone. Only by one whom he reveals himself can he be seen. This is confirmed in the Vedic literature. For one who is a surrendered soul, the absolute truth can be understood. A transcendentalist, by continuous Krishna consciousness and by devotional service, can have his spiritual eyes open and can see Krishna by revelation. Only by opening our spiritual eyes can we see the Lord, not by any other means. And if you notice here, this is what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. But the inhabitants of Dwarka, because they're being pure devotees without any tinge of material contamination of fruitive activities and empiric philosophical speculation, can see him face to face by the grace of the Lord. This is the original state of living entities, Jiva Srupoi, and can be attained by reviving our natural and constitutional state of life, which is discovered by devotional service alone. See that? Same thing here. The transcendentalist, by continuous Krishna consciousness, by devotional service to Krishna, can have his spiritual eyes open and see Krishna by revelation. Revelation means by the will of the Lord. Many times, if you read Srila Prabhupada Lila Mirta and Srila Prabhupada Memories book, you'll see people come through Srila Prabhupada or to the devotees and say, if God exists, why can't we see him? But there are so many things in the material world that we can't see, but we still believe in their existence, right? We don't see air, but we believe it exists. We don't see all the living entities, but they exist. Coronavirus, we can't see it. Just 1 gram of coronavirus caused the death of so many people, over 500,000 people in the US in 2 years. 500,000 people. And what about our emotions, the feelings of love and compassion? Can they be seen? No, they can be experienced only. If somebody has cataract, then they might not even, see their own family members. One of our devotees, her husband had cataract and he had had surgery, and their family was telling me how much he's suffering. So a blind person can't see anything, even in broad daylight. So seeing is not the only criteria which proves the existence of something. So that's when people ask us, if God exists, why can't we see him? We have to understand that God is, to see God requires spiritual vision, and that occurs through devotional service. Nor does it imply that God is, tiny, or that he's formless, and that's why we can't see him. Definitely not. We read in the Shastras that God has a beautiful form, which is not material, but spiritual. If God wants us to see him, and that's what Srila Prabhupada says here, see Krishna by revelation, meaning by Krishna's desire, he allows us, then we can see him. But if our heart is full of impurities, and even if God is in front of us, we cannot recognize him, we'll consider him an ordinary person. We see how Duryodhana saw Krishna face to face, but because of his false identification with his body and his kingdom, he contemplated imprisoning Krishna and harming Krishna. Shishupal was Krishna's cousin, but instead of rejoicing at his great fortune, he was always trying to insult him. So instead of trying to see God or asking, why can't we see, we should endeavor to cleanse our heart by the process of bhakti, because those things are getting in the way between us and Lord. And in fact, that was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, to show us how we can, purge the impurities from our hearts. So by chanting the holy name of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, chanting cleanses the mirror of the heart of dust accumulated for ages. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Sound is the vehicle through which darshan occurs. And that's why Srila Prabhupada said here, Transcendental Process is described in chapter 4 to hear about Krishna from authorities. That is how one sees Krishna. And we can see that practically as practicing devotees, that even though, I am impure, I have lots of anarthas, lots of other desires, but we still can experience the presence of Krishna in our life. And his form and beauty will manifest in our life as we get free from all these, undesirable things which are keeping us away. A pure heart filled with devotion makes us qualified to see the Supreme Lord. That's why in Brahma Samhita, it says Lord Krishna, who is known as Sham Sundar, has inconceivable, innumerable attributes, and pure devotees of the Lord can see him in their heart with eyes tinged with love. Now, this is all true, that we cannot see, as Krishna says, because our spiritual eyes have not opened to see spirit. But we're very fortunate in that we, the holy name, we can see Krishna through the holy name, and we can see Krishna even in our prior current conditioning, in the form of the deity. The deity of the Lord is a most merciful manifestation in this world, along with the holy name. Kapil Dev speaks this to his mother. He says, "Oh, my mother, my devotees always see the smiling face of my form with eyes like the rising morning sun." Just imagine eyes like the rising morning sun. They like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent, and they also talk favorably with me. And Srila Prabhupada says something nice. Archa refers to the form which we can worship in our present condition. Actually, in our present state, it is not possible to see God in a spiritual form because our material eyes and senses cannot conceive a spiritual form. We cannot even see the spiritual form of the individual soul. When a man dies, we cannot see how the spiritual form leaves the body. That is a defect of our material senses. In order to be seen by our material senses, the Supreme Lord accepts a favorable form called Archa Vigraha. It is not different from him. Right? The smiling face of the deity in the temple is beheld by the devotees as transcendental and spiritual, and the decoration of the body of the Lord is very much appreciated by devotees. It is the duty of the spirit masters to teach us how to decorate the deity in the temple, how to cleanse the temple, how to worship the deity. So we should not think we're doing the Lord a favor by going and doing deity worship. It is our duty. It is our duty, Srila Prabhupada says this. The devotees express their minds before the deity, and in many instances, the deity gives answers. But one must be very elevated in order to speak with the Lord. Sometimes the Lord informs the devotees through dreams. These exchanges of feelings between deity and Lord are not understandable by atheists, but actually devotee enjoys them. Kapil Muni is explaining how the devotees see the decorated face and body of the deity and how they speak with him in devotional service. So the idea is the deity, if God is all pervading, then that also means he pervades material elements. Some people say everything is God. Why go to a temple, see the form of the Lord? So they're denying that he's God. But devotees don't feel that way, right? The deity is the Lord's special mercy to us, to allow us to meditate in his spiritual form, even if we don't have qualifications for it. To see the deity in the temple and to, moreover, allow the deity to see us is an exchange called darshan. Darshan occurs not through the eyes, but through the heart. So, when we go in front of the deity, we can offer heartfelt prayers or glorifying their auspicious transcendental form, doing some little seva for the deity. We should be thankful to the Lord for his mercy. If not for this, we would be anatha, we would not be sanatha. So, your lordship rarely visits even the denizens of heaven, meaning Dura Darshanam. They're saying that. But we have, even though we're full of material impurities, but we have the darshan of the Lord regularly, accessible to us. On a higher level, Krishna explains to Arjuna this very famous verse, right? Bhaktya tu ananya sakya ahameva vidu Arjuna yatum dashtam chatatvena parishtam cha prantapa. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before me and you can see me directly. So, it is possible when we approach the deity of the Lord to see darshan. So we're not lost in the wilderness by being here in this material world. I'll wrap up by speaking about this other aspect. Now it is possible for us to look into your smiling face, which is full of affectionate glances. Srila Prabhupada says in Teachings of Kapila Dev, he says, when a devotee with all his heart and soul serves Krishna and dresses him in nice garments and gives him flower, then Krishna smiles. When a devotee with all his heart and soul serves Krishna, dresses him in nice garments, gives him a flower, then Krishna smiles. And then Srila Prabhupada goes on to say, if you can get Krishna to smile upon you just once, your life's goal is fulfilled. Life's goal is fulfilled. So what's the power of Krishna's smile? We see a lot of people smiling, but sometimes when they smile, they're not really happy. The physical motion of the mouth may open into a smile, but here they're pointing out it's not the physical act of smile, but it's actually, which is affectionate glances. So the eyes are supposed to be in the material world, the mirror into the heart. So Krishna is showing his affection not just by the smile, but by his ability to convey his mood through his eyes. So that's what Kapil Dev says to Devahuti, a yogi should similarly meditate on the most benevolent smile of Lord Sri Hari, a smile which for all those who bow to him dries away the ocean of tears caused by intense grief. So Krishna's smile is, accompanied by his glance. His glance, we will see later here in subsequent verse. It's number 10. So they say this here. If you live abroad, meaning in Mathura Braj, then we cannot look at your attractive face, whose smiles vanquish all our sufferings. Smile vanquish. So Krishna smiled like here. Like Kapil Dev says, a smile which also dries away ocean of tears caused by intense grief. Very beautiful. I love the pastime of when Kunti Devi offers all of her amazing prayers. Oh, this was the verse. Are you leaving us today? That we are completely dependent on your mercy that I was trying to find last time. Sri Sutta Goswami said, the Lord, thus hearing the prayers of Kunti Devi, composed in choice words for his glorification, mildly smiled. That smile was as enchanting as his mystic power. Very nice, huh? We just Loa Bax spoke about Balaramji in our group. And I'll end by having all of you have darshan of Balaramji. Stop this share. Do you see? Is it visible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Krishna Balaramji in Vrindavan Dham in the heat of summer. There's affectionate glances. Their smile is accompanied by the glance of love. So thank you very much. I can go back to the verse itself, and then we can wrap up. If anybody has questions or comments, we can entertain them. Let me go back to the verse. Oh, it is our good luck that we have again come under your protection by your presence. For your lordship rarely visits even the denizens of heaven. Now it's possible for us to look into your smiling face, which is full of affectionate glances, can see your transcendental form full of auspiciousness. Something mysterious that I'll end this session by is, in the material world, we see the Lord through the Paramatma. Because of presence of false ego, we don't have the spiritual vision. In the spiritual world, the false ego is dissolved. There's no Paramatma because there's no desire other than the Lord. And so at that point, we see the Lord directly in person in front of us. So that's why the Dwarkavasis, and that's very deep, we can all contemplate that. So the Dwarkavasis can see the transcendental form of Lord as he is, even without Paramatma, because he's manifesting externally to their vision because of their purity. So we explored about what it means to have protection by Krishna. It means protect our relationship with him and be Krishna conscious of him. We explored what it means by the concept of Dura Darshanam and why it's hard for even the very elevated souls and heavenly planets to have darshan of the Lord. We explored the concept of Prema Smita Snigdha, how the Lord's smiling glance is also through his glance. So the smile and the glance go together, and how even in our material conditioning, we can see the Lord as a deity. And then we explored this idea just now. I only spoke about it briefly. The Sandarbhas talk about this in great length, the Paramatma Sandarbha, about seeing the transcendental form of the Lord when one's ahankaras are dissolved. I'm sure there are many more things to explore in this verse. I only went through a very small portion of the verse. Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Any comments, questions, clarifications, additions?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare
Please
Krishna,
go ahead,
Mataji.
Mataji.
No, please, Mataji, go ahead. I'll
Okay.
go
I
next.
just want to thank you for a very profound lecture. I really liked how you took different sections of the translation, explained it first, like the protection of the Lord, what it means. And this point is very profound when you said all the hankerings towards our material, towards the spiritual progress is actually coming from inside and it's not the external factors. I think,
Yes.
that point is very profound, Prabhu. And
Yes.
then when you talked about the Lord's smiling face, and then finally when you ended it with Paramatma, the Sandarbha, like what it means in the material world, it's through our Paramatma that we
See.
perceive the Lord. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. A lot of very nice, profound points. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you. Yeah, the Paramatma in Chaitanya Bhagavatam, it says the Paramatma, because of our material vision, manifests externally as a spiritual master. And this concept of protection being through bhakti is when we read about Balaramji and we read about Krishna's energy. Krishna's internalmost energy is called Haladini Shakti. And Haladini Shakti is what controls our bhakti and gives us this reciprocation. Thank you, Mataji, for nicely summarizing some of the points we went over. Thank you. Nancy Ganga Mataji, you had a question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, it's not a question. I just want to share, Prabhuji, when you say a Lord's darshan is so rare, and it is very difficult even for the demigods. Yeah, and also the value of Lord's, like we cannot say in the value, but how wonderful darshan. It reminded me like when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went for the South India tour, Prabhuji, by just his presence, everybody became Vaishnavas. So such a wonderful thing to have Lord's darshan. So I just want to share. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Your class will be always too intense, but at the same time, you will be relating to our very, very practical day activity, what we do. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Sorry for the intensity of the class. Yeah. It's because I'm trying to absorb, what is my position. Sometimes that comes out as sometimes my patients tell me that you're very intense. You should joke more. And I said it's hard. It's it's not the nature. A very most wonderful devotees have this intrinsic sense of humor. I tend to be serious. Yeah, I think. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just by his presence, uplifted all the devotees in the South Indian Yatra. That is very, very true. But the devotees also had, they were pious, mostly, and B, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered them to spread Krishna consciousness so nicely, right? So the ground is fertile, so to speak, for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to guide them. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. Okay. Any questions? Other comments? Realizations?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Radhakanta Prabhu.
I have a question. The picture you showed, is it from the Krishna Balram temple in
Yes.
the Dham? Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's nice.
Yes.
Okay. I see.
Normally, yeah.
Decoration.
The deities oftentimes in summer will wear, something shorter than a full dress because it's just hot.
Okay.
And it's particularly nice when one has that darshan. Like we have that book, right? Like the Lost Temples of Nrsingadev. And I like to look at that book every day and read about one form of the Lord every day. And so sometimes Dhruva Prabhu, who wrote that book, will talk about how he became very fortunate because Lord Nrsingadev oftentimes has, like armor, like, golden and etc., especially in southern India. They dress Lord Nrsingadev very opulently with a lot of, precious jewels and golden ornaments. And it's hard to see the darshan of the form of the Lord because he's covered. And every now and then, Dhruva Prabhu talks about how it was his great fortune that, all those ornaments were kind of removed because then he could see actually the intense beauty of the Lord's form.
Yeah, actually, it's very nice. Thank you for sharing the picture.
Yeah, I love it too.
Yeah. And then one more thing I just wanted to express my gratitude to you, Prabhuji. I mean, at least whenever you speak, I can clearly see the faith and devotion in you. It just comes out. So it actually enhances our own faith and in devotion to learn from you, Prabhuji. Thank you for...
I'm only practicing. Ropad Maharaj once in Corvallis said, having a physical body is a red flag that we have false ego. So we have all these 99% of my life is encompassed with things related to the false ego. So if I can have 1% remembrance of Krishna, then that is, if we can, then that's wonderful. And that's what I think we as a community try to do together. I'm seeing all of you coming together and serving so nicely in each of your humble ways. And that's nice. That's very nice. That attracts people, I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
Actually, let me share one event that happened. I think last December, right? I think that was when I went to Seattle and I got to, that was Ekadashi. So I was, not Ekadashi, Krishna, Gita Jayanti, right? So I missed the time. Went to Seattle because I had to go to work. And then I visited the temple and then I was talking to somebody. I said, look, your temple is so big. I wish we can actually, in Portland also, we can build such a big temple. And the person said, look, every temple has a significance of its own. The way I would look at Portland temple is you guys are very devotional. There is so much of devotional aspect in the temple. Okay. Don't think that your temple should be like our temple. It was a huge revelation to me. And I could see it the other day in Balram Jayanti and also in today's lecture that you gave. Thank you. Thank you. I could relate to what he's saying.
Yes.
Thank you for being such a nice,
Yeah, the Lord sees our intention more so than, our action. Chaitanya Prabhuji loves to make that comment that it's our intention that matters the most. And so, ability may not be there. One may not have the resources, etc. But in the eyes of the Lord, even a small ant carries some level of, connection. Like whenever I see a spider in our home that's died, or has left its body, I try to chant Nrsingadev prayer to that spider, and I try to put the spider in like some flower that's been offered to the Lord, so at least that spider can, have connection to Bhagavan. So our compassion should be. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that love that we have for Krishna manifests as compassion towards all beings. So we should cultivate that. Okay, I'll let everybody go. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, Shishintai Sacainanda Dev Ki Jai. I know a lot of you are doing service at the India Day. That's wonderful. Please, if you can just engage one person there and share your Krishna consciousness, then that whole event will be beneficial. And those that aren't, come to the temple and have darshan of the Lord and the devotees and serve them. So vancha kalpatribhyacha kripo sindhabhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you. Thank you. See you all soon. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Bye-bye.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Bye-bye.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.